Hello friends, the lecture today is for students of Sem 6. We are looking at paper number 311, and the text that I'm going to be talking to you about is The Deathbed by Siegfried Sassoon. I'll say that again, Siegfried Sassoon. He was what we call a war poet. What do I mean by that? All of you are well aware that war poetry or poetry about war has been written since ages. Look at the Iliad and the description of war. Look at the Mahabharata and the description of war. So poetry about war is not something new. Then what is so special about war poetry? War poetry is something that we began talking about only in the 20th century. Actually, all poetry about war, which was written earlier, was written by people who were not actually involved in the process of war. Whereas, when we talk about war poetry, it's actually people who were there in the middle of action. These were soldiers who had faced the cannon, who had seen their own friends, their colleagues, their co-soldiers die, who had experienced the difficulty of living in trenches. They had seen disease, they had seen pain, they had experienced loss. So when they started writing about poetry, the poetry was very different. As one war poet said, "I do not love the people I protect. I do not hate the people I fight." So let's now come to the poem that I want to talk about, which is The Deathbed. Let me begin by reading a few lines of the poem. He drowsed and was aware of silence heaped around him, unshaken as the steadfast walls, aqueous like floating rays of umber light, soaring and quivering in the wings of sleep. Silence and safety and his mortal show, lipped by the inward moonless waves of death. Actually, Sassoon was born towards the end of the 19th century and lived a long life. So he experienced both the world wars. So what is he writing about this in this poem? There is the soldier who is probably dying. He is aware that he is dying. And the images of water keep recurring again and again. What does the soldier want now? He is thirsty and he wants some water. But the water comes to us also as imagery when he talks about the rain, when he talks about a boat, when he talks about the shores. Symbols and images play a major role in this poem, as they do in many of the poems that Sassoon wrote. Let me read another verse to you. Someone was holding water to his mouth. He swallowed, unresisting, moaned, and dropped through crimson gloom to darkness, and forgot the opiate throb and ache that was his wound. The poet doesn't leave anything to our imagination. He tells us that he's wounded. He talks about the blood that is probably congealing there. Can he forget the pain? Unlikely, says the poet. And what is he doing? He thinks of water, probably because he's thirsty. Probably water also has a cleansing effect. Probably he hopes that water will help him forget what he wants to. So what does he see? Water, calm and gliding green. Water, a sky-lit alley for his boat. And so he goes on. He's waiting for death. Will death come to him? Does every soldier want only to die? All our imagination about heroism, about the soldier wanting to die for his country, somehow seems to be but a painful cry from the soldier who actually goes through it. So let me conclude by reading the last lines of this poem, where the poet says, when he asks death to come to him, but death replied, I choose him. And so he went, and there was silence in the summer night. Silence and safety, the wails of sleep, then far away the thudding of the guns.